our August 2024 meeting. So we are celebrating our birthday. So exactly 1 year ago, or I guess 1 year and 2 weeks ago, we started the CCC TUG. So thank you everybody who has been with us for this past year. Even if this is your first meeting, thank you so much for joining us today. But we really wanted to showcase all the work done by the CCC. So we've invited 3 different colleges here to kind of speak about what they've been working on and some dashboards that they wanted to showcase. And then we have our birthday data challenge that was sent out. So we had 2 people submit quizzes. So thank you to those 2 people. And then we have Kim, who's going to go over how to build a Sankey chart with Viz extensions. So last year, if you remember, in our very first meeting, Kim had shown a Sankey template without any Viz extensions. So now she's going to show you how you can do it with it built into Tableau. So that'll be exciting. And then join us for our next meeting, October 23rd, 2024. We're going to be doing some wickedly cool stuff in Tableau with the Flare Lodge twins. And so let's get started with our Tableau showcase. So first up, we have a transfers from Skyline to UC dashboard from Adam Lange at Skyline College. And so Adam Lange is a reporting and data expert with a passion for higher education. He has 20 years experience working with colleges and universities, where he specializes in Tableau, Power BI, SQL, and SAP business objects. And then did you want to share your screen, Adam, or?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully you can see that there.
Ooh, I can't actually find the stop share button. What? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Let's see. I think you can see my screen now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah. So I'm Adam Lange of Alcove Insights. You heard I'm a reporting and data consultant in higher education. One of the colleges that I work with is Skyline College, which is in the San Mateo County Community College District. And so we've done a lot of various types of reporting and data work for them, including on the Tableau side. And one of the dashboards the dashboard that we're going to share with you today is this transfer dashboard. So the idea of this dashboard is that it helps to track and visualize Skyline College students who apply at UC and CSU, tracks the number of people who apply, the acceptance rate, and the ultimate enrollment rate. And this was spearheaded, as I said, by Skyline College, but specifically by the pre-department in Skyline College. That's the Planning, Research, and Institutional Effectiveness Department. So they're really the ones who spearheaded this project from the beginning. So what I'll do is I'll take you on a tour of the dashboard, show you kind of what it does and the information that it's showing you. And then I'll dig into the data part of it, how the data comes together, share some nuances with that, and then also look at the actual structure of it in Tableau Desktop. Okay, so there are let me open this up in full screen here. Okay, so there's really 2 main tabs of this. There's a definitions tab that just contains some sources and notes, but really there's 2 main tabs. There's a summary tab and there's a by campus tab. Okay, so the summary tab, what you're tracking here is a multi-year 6-year trend of UC and CSU transfer numbers. Now I'll talk about the data source for this, and where that data comes from and everything. But up here at the top, you're selecting UC and CSU. Now, why are you selecting that? Why would you look at them together? The reason is because they work off of different timelines. Those 2 different systems provide data at different levels of granularity or time frames. CSU provides it at a fall snapshot, whereas UC does an annual look. So that's why they're kind of separated like that. But it is handy to look at them separately. So up here at the top, as the user, you can toggle between looking at transfers to CSU versus transfers to UC. So I've selected, for example, the University of California system. And then what I'm seeing here is the data that's provided by the University of California system that tells us how many Skyline students applied to the UC system, how many were admitted, and of those, how many enrolled. So here, this line chart on the right-hand side, I'm seeing UC totals by reporting period. Again, they provide this data at an annual level. So the red bar being the number of people who applied over time, the black bar being of those who applied, how many were admitted. Later on in the dashboard, that is represented as a percentage as well. And then this kind of orange-yellow line indicates, again, of those, how many enrolled. So it's a little bit of an applicant funnel as well. And then, of course, when you hover over it, you can see the numbers visualized that way, and the admit rate is presented there as well as a percentage. So this chart here is showing you sort of system-wide, but then geographically, you might want to look at kind of how those transfers are distributed across the state, and that's what's being shown on the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, we've got this nice map of California showing us average number of accepted applicants. So this would be, over the 6-year period, what colleges had the largest number of accepted applicants from Skyline College. So of those people who, they were at Skyline, they applied to a UC college, which UC college got the most number of accepted Skyline applicants? And it's no surprise that the highest number is UC Davis, because Skyline College is in the Bay Area. So it would make sense that UC Davis would be at the top or up there. But notice how when you hover over any specific little college dot, you get a Viz and tooltip that provides you with the detailed trend information for that specific college. So you could see year over year, the applied numbers for that college, the admitted number, the acceptance rate, and the enrollment number. Okay. And again, you could do the same thing if you were to toggle to the CSU system, all the same numbers, really with all the same sort of business rules and everything like that, except it's just for incoming fall students. It doesn't track the entire year. And they're the largest transfer institution of CSU San Francisco, which again makes sense because of the proximity. So this is kind of like looking at a system-wide, kind of a higher level, but Skyline and Pre and other people who are using this dashboard might want to be able to drill into individual campuses to try to get a better sense of what this looks like, UC site to UC site or CSU site to CSU site. And so that's what this Campuses tab does for us. So when I click the Campuses tab, there's another drop down at the top. But here, though, I'm selecting individual CSU institutions or individual UC institutions. So I can select any institution I want. Say I select CSU San Francisco. That institution is starred on the map. And then I can see the 6-year trend of the funnel with the averages at the bottom. And I can kind of toggle through this as I want, Riverside, what does that look like, et cetera. You'll also notice that in the bottom left-hand corner, we've added a note. This is a note that was sort of requested by and crafted by the Skyline Pre office, which says, to avoid misinterpretation of dashboard data, consultation with Pre is strongly recommended prior to using any of the data for research or publication, which I believe is on all of their dashboards. And I'm sure that's something that you all can sympathize with, this idea that people looking at the dashboard, they might not always draw the conclusion that you hope that they would, or maybe they're thinking about a number in the wrong context or something like that. And so this just kind of, it doesn't force the user, but it would kind of encourage them to reach out to Pre and just be like, hey, we're looking at this dashboard. we think we draw these conclusions from it, and we want to share such and such at a meeting. Does that sound about right? That's the idea behind those notes, which show up on all their dashboards. And then, as I mentioned, there's a definitions tab. And this definitions tab will help us to drill into next the data part of it and the data source, which is the trickiest part. So let's talk about the data. So typically, when we're building reports and dashboards on transfer data, the first thing that comes to mind is the National Student Clearinghouse. Typically, we would go to the National Student Clearinghouse through Student Tracker. We'd get out good information about who went to what college and did they graduate at such and such 4-year or whatever it is. But that's not an option for us here because we wanted to be able to know the applicant numbers, the admission rates, everything like that. And those are not in the Student Tracker module of the National Student Clearinghouse. The National Student Clearinghouse will tell you good information about if somebody ended up enrolling at a subsequent college, but that Student Tracker module in the Clearinghouse isn't going to tell you if somebody applied to a college and didn't get in or whatever it is. So instead, what was done is CSU and UC separately provide feeder data about community college students who apply and get into their campuses. So I'll share that. You can see the data sources for this are from the University of California website. So on the UC website, they post this dashboard. There's a particular tab of this dashboard, transfer by college, that provides the data, which can then be downloaded. This data changes once a year. And you can see here, the data's in a little bit of a messy format. So there's some changes that have to happen, some restructuring of it that has to happen later, which we'll talk about. But here you can see it's got the number of people who applied, the number of people who were admitted, the number of people who were enrolled year by year, which is the same information that we report on the dashboard. So this would be the data source provided by University of California, the UC system. And then the CSU system also has a set of kind of similar data dashboards with the same type of source. So they also have a Tableau dashboard that they put out there that has these applied, admitted, and enrolled numbers, which you can download, et cetera. Again, theirs is a fall snapshot, whereas UC is annual. So the process here is that, so we know that these are the data sources. There is no one-stop shop for this. We have to get the CSU data from the CSU website, the UC data from the UC website, and then we have to combine them. So there is no kind of API that we can ping or anything like that to gather the data, at least not to my knowledge. So what's done is that once a year, thankfully it's just a once a year process, which is why it's probably not much automation really needed. Once a year, these data are downloaded and then put into an Excel file or CSV file or whatever it is. We're just using Excel. So this is what the Excel file looks like. And so each year the data just kind of gets appended or updated here. But I'll show you kind of what you're seeing is, what I'm highlighting here is the part of the UC data from 17-18. And you can see there's one row for each UC college. And on each row, I can see the number of people who applied, admitted, and enrolled at that college. But there's also a row, which is this row here, which indicates to me the system-wide total. So I've got rows for the system-wide total, and I've got rows for the college-specific numbers. And if we take a look at this period column shows us the the academic year, which comes from the UCs, or the fall time periods, which come from the CSUs. Okay, these blank lines here are colleges that for which during the corresponding period there were no Skyline transfers. Into this spreadsheet, we also have latitude and longitude plugged into it for each college. Now, this is like a one-time thing, thankfully, because since we've done this, no new UC or CSU campuses have opened, of course. So, so what we did was I just used a tool to get the latitude, longitude of the main campus at each college and just plugged it in here. That latitude and longitude is what's used in the dashboard to do these types of visualizations that you saw. So again, what happens is once a year, Skyline College will go out, download the UC data from their website, CSU data from the other website, and then we'll end up kind of doing a little bit of processing to get it into this nice Tableau ready format. Now, another option with this is that you could kind of create perhaps a Tableau prep flow to do some of the processing and combining and appending of the data if needed. So you could certainly do that. Given that it's just a once a year process, I thought it might be a little bit, it might perhaps be over engineered to do that. But if we had to do it more often than once a year, then yeah, certainly some automation would be needed for that. All right, I'll jump now into the dashboard itself. So what you're looking at is the dashboard that I have opened up in Tableau Desktop. And it's exactly what you saw on the website. I'll just point out a couple of things. One is, so on this map visualization, we were able to achieve the kind of density dots along with overlaid over the California map by using a dual axis chart up here. So one axis just provides the plot of the California state boundary. The other axis does this circle density marker. And you can see here how I've configured this particular chart is that it's the dual axis chart, but the part that is the circle uses the field called admitted number. That is the number of Skyline students who applied to the institution and were admitted. That is applied to the size card here. So that's what's determining the size of the bubble. And then across the board here, I've tried to put in custom sort of curated tooltips, which is what I try to do in all of the hoverovers, because the tooltips in Tableau, you know, as you all know, they're very helpful, but out of the box, sometimes they can maybe not be as informative. And so I've tried to across the board here to make sure that the tooltips are sort of well formatted. They have relevant information. The labels are not variable name labels. They're actual kind of user-friendly labels, all that. And then also on the map, I have the Vision tooltip. So, of course, I'm sure the Vision tooltip's been out for several years. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. But basically, how that plays out is that there is a standalone worksheet which calculates or produces the table, that 6-year trend. And then here in this sheet, inside the tooltip card, is where I plug that sheet in using the insert menu. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of how this works. Yeah, I think there may have been a couple of questions on the chat as well.
So we did have one
Um,
question in the chat. Are you willing to share the latitude and longitude values for each UC and CSU?
yes, I can do that. I'll, how would you, well, I could put an Excel file in the chat. Would that work?
That
Or do
works.
you want
And
me to
then
just send that to you?
we have a shared drive of resources as well for the TUG, so we can add it to the shared drive, the Google
Okay.
Drive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll email you the Excel file
Okay.
that
Perfect.
has that. Yeah, and then yeah. Okay.
And then we do have some questions for you about the dashboard. So what
Yeah.
challenges did you face in building the dashboard?
Well, I think the probably the biggest challenge was just getting the data, those two data sources to mesh well together as one. So when you download the data out of UC versus CSU, those two data, like, they look very dissimilar. The column orders are different. The column labels are different. You know, I think one was you would read the data left to right. The other you would read the data up and down. And so just getting a kind of standard format into which we could feed both CSU and UC data that was Tableau friendly. But you know, we were able to achieve that. And then the other thing was just the initial lookup and plug in of latitude, longitude. And so, and thankful, once we've done that, no maintenance would be required there to update those, of course, unless one of the campuses moved sites, which seems unlikely, or if there opens up a new CSU or UC campus, we would have to make sure to add that latitude, longitude to the file. So I think those would be the two things.
Okay, and then Svetlana asked in the chat, did you convert it to a long file versus a wide one like you were displaying now?
Yeah, I did. I believe that when you download the data from CSU, it's like this, where you know each reporting period is its own column rather than being its own row. And yes, convert it so it's a long file. It's much easier to work with then.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So another question, how long did it take you to build this dashboard?
What the dashboard probably took maybe a day and a half, and then probably creating a process, both a technical and a business process to wrangle the data sources, maybe another afternoon or something like that. So probably in total, once you squish it all together, probably about 2 days.
I was just thinking the same thing, so put in the chat, you're speedy. That was very quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what is your favorite feature of this dashboard?
Definitely the maps. Yeah. Love the maps. And yeah, I always like it's always nice to have a map when especially when it's not super crowded. Like, if you take a look at the UC data, it's very easy to see kind of what's going on. And yes, sometimes when you plot data onto a map, it, depending on the nature of the data, it's very like highly clustered in a single area, and it's sort of hard to, it might look cool, but it's hard to derive any value from it. But here, it just so happens that the data is separated kind of, I guess, geographically, to the point where it is sort of easy to identify a spatial trend. So yeah, the maps.
Yeah, these maps are very, very nice. I like them. I like the one on the campuses, especially with the star. Yeah.
Yeah, the star.
Yeah. And then last question, how does the college use this data?
Yeah, I think that they're typically using it in conversations with like the board and external stakeholders. I don't know if they often use it for internal decision making. I think it's more often used for, yeah, like conversations with the board or their transfer coordinator, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Adam. This was a great dashboard and a great presentation. I love seeing the behind the scenes. Yeah. Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Thank you all so much.
And if there's any other questions for Adam, you can go ahead and throw those into the chat. Okay, so let's see. Hi, Lady. Let's see if I can get this to work. Last time it just kept doing this. There we go. Okay, so now we have Armando Cortez, and I just realized I put his bio over here on the screen. So let me go ahead and move that. So Armando is a senior research analyst at Allen Hancock College, supporting every facet of college life with fantastical data and analysis that enhances the college decision-making processes. Being in the research office for 13 years, you would think he has seen it all, but data always finds a way. He began using Tableau back in 2014 when it was still version 8 and can't imagine using any other tool for gathering and analyzing data. Loving data and Tableau so much has also led him to being the Tableau server administrator for AHC, 6 years and going strong. That's amazing. Outside of work, he has recently become engulfed in the world of Legos. Send help. Armando, if you would like to, you wanted to share your screen as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go ahead and just stop sharing. There we go.
All right. Share that and start this. Oh, yes. Come on. Come on. Here we go. Okay. So, like I was introduced, my name is Armando Cortez and I work at Allen Hancock College. I've got a little PowerPoint presentation and I'm probably going to go a little quick through it just so we can get to the nuts and bolts. So purpose, timeline, features, challenges, and then the good stuff at the bottom. So you can read what's on the screen, but essentially what happened is we completely changed our program review process. It used to be about 15 programs every 6 years. So you would kind of rotate through and the research office would provide them, you know, somewhere between 30 and 40-page data document. And that's what everybody was used to. And so we changed it to be, instead of a program doing a 6-year program review, they were going to do a piece of the review every year. So now every single year, every program is engaged in something, but we just didn't have the manpower to provide 90 data packets every single year. So we created all new dashboards where everyone on campus could go get the data themselves. But what that meant was people had to get familiar with them. And so I had an idea last year to create this kind of data escape cave, similar to escape rooms, where you basically have to find data, answer questions, and then you escape. So it didn't really catch on last year, but our president kind of over the summer had a renewed interest in getting people familiar with all the data we have. So when he heard about this presentation, he was excited. I think he's going to mention this particular dashboard during our all staff day meeting tomorrow. And then we have a monthly newsletter and we're going to highlight it probably in September. So I am hopeful it catches on. So getting into the, hold on one second. Oh, that's fine. Getting into the kind of how it was built. I wanted a story and I wanted pictures, and I'm not great at either. So here comes AI, and it was great because I really love the AI song that we had at the beginning of this meeting. I didn't know it could do that, but I guess it can kind of do anything now. So, you know, I wanted it to be engaging. I wanted people to have fun with the data, kind of. So once you get through the story, and we'll go over it when I go through the nuts and bolts, this is kind of the main part of the dashboard. So this whole data escape cave is really just a wrapper, and what it does is it sends you to all of these other dashboards that we want people to use for program review data. You can see there you have to answer questions. I have a little timer there, and hopefully you can escape, right? So the one thing I'll say, though, this is on Tableau Public, and for anyone who's used Tableau Public for more than like 10 minutes, you know it is likely to just reset itself. And if people have to keep track of these, I put a reminder on there, like, please be aware, you could lose all your progress. And so just take some steps ahead of time. So my favorite feature of the dashboard, and this is actually the main page of it. And again, when I get to the demo, so you choose your name at the very beginning and it seems innocent enough, but what the name change does is each adventurer has their own set of questions. So not only can you go through it multiple times, but you would have a different experience than someone else if they chose a different one. So that way I was able to kind of keep it from getting boring. And then really in my head, when I was thinking about this dashboard, I really wanted a treasure map at the beginning. So had the AI create that too, and it came out really good. One of the big challenges, like I said, because when I rolled it out originally, it just really didn't catch on. You know, a place to get your program review data is not a really enticing way to get someone to go do something because nobody wants to do program review. So I added a small leaderboard, try to make it more of a game. It didn't really take off like I thought, but I'm hoping with the renewed push in the next couple days and weeks it might. And then the last one I kind of already talked about. I didn't want it to just be something you would do one time and then you would never do again. So this way you can go through, and then I'll also show when we look at it that it's really easy to update the questions. The old questions I had on there from last year, I went and updated them all on Monday to just kind of make it a little more relevant. So it helps if I can change the questions, people can go through and enjoy that. So there is all that. Let's go. It's on Tableau Public, but I'm just going to show the it in Tableau. So we start here. And again, it's real simple. This is a parameter and you just kind of choose who you want. These are just navigation buttons. So let's, my favorite is Toothless Pete, but I also like buckets, but we'll just go with him. I always do this when I'm in Tableau desktop. I always want to click on the buttons to make them navigate me, and they never do. So I always have to remember, okay, come down here. So this is just the story. This is real simple, but the one thing I did, I think you can see it a little better here, is whatever adventurer you choose, that's the name that I insert in the story. So even though I had ChatGPT write me the story, I went through and slightly edited it, and then I made it so your name, whatever you choose, shows up in all the text throughout. That's not very difficult, but it was just try to get the immersion. So then you go through, I think you crash land on a island and you're looking for treasure, and you come through and you need to escape. So like I said, this is the main part. So we've got like 6 parts of things here. So I'll start with this, because one of the things to get a leaderboard is, well, you need a way to track your time. And I didn't want people to have to use their phone or some other thing. So this is actually a website that embeds, and it's just a timer, and it's just start and stop. Now, it's not saved anywhere. You have to write this down on your own when you're done. But if you go look, I have it up here. I think it was this one. That's literally what the website looks like. So it's just that, and it resizes itself to whatever you try to embed. So that was really cool. That was just some Google searching. So the main part is, you can kind of see over here, I've got 5 lock dashboards, and that's what all, or I guess sheets. That's what all of these are. So if we go into lock 1, so we can see it's just got the question there. It's got this little red marker that says, nope, you didn't put the right answer in. And I've got it so where if you roll over it, you can get hints. So the whole process is, if you were to click on this button, it opens up the program review enrollment dashboard. If we go back real fast. So it says, what's the credit year? What is the academic year credit FTEF for 22-23? So I think that's this one down here. Yeah. And I don't think you have to change anything, right? So it was, hold on a second. Let me get this out of the way. So you would find the answer on the dashboard. You would go put it in. Oh, that's right, because I've been doing all my testing with the first adventure, so that question threw me. So 596.99 FTEF 2223 right there. So we go back and you put in 596.99 and boom. So you unlock that one and it went green. And if we go back to the lock table, that's just a real basic yes, no. It's lock status. And if I look at it, it is, if your answer is the same answer of the parameter, or I'm sorry, so the parameter is your answer because those are all parameters on the end. They're just free entry ones. And then if that's the actual answer it's looking for, yes, no. And then it's just either red or, I think it's over here. You can see it in here. Oh, actually, I just assigned them like that. I didn't even do anything fancy. So it's just red or green. So then you would just go through all of them. If you need hints, every single one has a hint. The hints could maybe be a little better. I mean, unfortunately for someone like me, I built it. I'm very familiar with all this data. So when I give hints to these, they may not be the best ones. That's why I kind of needed testers. But the couple people that have used them, I think they were able to get through it. So that was a good thing. So let me just put the answers in real fast so I can show you what's next. Let's see. So that's 63. Oh, so, and then I'll show you how this whole piece of it works. That is 6.2. That is 15. That is not 15. Uh-oh. That's 16. Oops, not 16, that. Nope. We're gonna have to use another adventure. Again, like I said, I didn't test it on this one. Let's go back to Jackie. That's the one I do all my testing on because it's the very first one. 77. 77. 663. I also love the idea of having two questions exactly the same, even though they're not the same data, because to me, when I take tests, that is like, oh, something's got to be wrong. That's not right. So I was trying to trick people there. Let's see. What is this one? This one is 42. And this one is, oh, I was looking at the wrong one for 2. That's why. I was reading my cheat sheet wrong. So anyway, you get all the locks in, click here for freedom. That takes you to the page. Yay, you made it out. And so then this is where it actually tells you that there's different questions for the different adventurers. You wouldn't know that going into it. And then finally, the leaderboard. So those are people from the research office. No one else has really tested it yet. I have no idea. I just made this like an old arcade machine where the old high scores are just so easy to beat that anyone should beat them. So I didn't know of 25 minutes, but these guys did it in 5. So it's no big deal. So the way it all works is you've got this Excel sheet essentially. And what I have here is group, subgroup, and then that's just for my knowledge, the name, the question that it goes with, the answer, and then the hint. So these are basically all the question ones. And then these are the question ones associated with that adventurer. The actual question, this is the answer that it's looking to tie to the parameter. And then this is the hint on the rollover. So if we come back here to lock 1, it's real basic filters. I'm basically saying, what does the, because adventure version is the name of the person, does the name of the person match that subgroup on the Excel sheet? If it does, then that's the question it's going to show me. And then you come over here and I say, oh, well, this is lock 1. That's why there's 5 locks. So I basically only let it show me question 1 for that person. And then, like I said, the color is just, do you match the answer or not? And the attribute is the hint, because the filters are set to just show you essentially this group and this row. Then when you roll over the hint, it knows that's the only hint I'm picking up. So that's the one I'm going to show you. And so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sheets with these rollovers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 These are also sheets. These are using actions up here to go to the different URLs. And then these are just 5 parameters. This is another act. This one might be a button. This one goes to the next one. And then this is just the website. The one thing I had to do with this button, and that came from testing, when I originally made it, it just said freedom here. And the person who took it thought they were just done and they closed it. And they didn't even go to the end. And so I realized, oh, well, I want you to click to go to the next one. And this is just a basic show hide. So if you haven't completed all 5 locks, it's hidden. So if you were to try to click that, it wouldn't do anything. You have to actually have the sheet itself know, oh, I should be showing myself, not hiding myself. And then that's how that gets there. And then again, these are just all the answers that are loaded in off of that Excel sheet. So this makes it really easy to change if I want to change anything or I find an error somewhere. I just go in here. And so the whole thing is essentially just 2 Excel sheets. It's that Excel sheet, and then I have another one for the leaderboard. And I just go through there and put that in. So like I said, it's a wrapper that wraps all these other dashboards that we've done over the years. Go back there. So that was that. So just really in summary, I really wanted images and text, but I was not gonna deal with that. So that was all AI. That was great. I wanted to basically gamify and incentivize this as much as I could. I mean, we can only do so much. We can't just give out cash prizes because that would get everyone to do it. And then, you know, I'm hopeful we'll be promoting this in the next couple weeks more than we have before, and it will catch on. And then finally, I always try to just make the data fun.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Armando. That was amazing. Oh, I keep freezing. I'm sorry, everybody. But yeah, so you answered quite a few of our questions throughout your presentation, right? So your favorite feature is how the adventure names are tied to incentivizing it, right? But how long did it take you to build the dashboard?
Oh, okay, yeah. It probably took, I would say, 2 days worth of work, but you know, that's split over probably 2 to 3 weeks, because it was just a little bit here and a little bit there, which helped me because I would kind of have ideas. Oh, I want to make this way or this that way, because I started with the chat GPT, you know, just give me a story and give me some pictures, and so I kind of just had to play around with that. But like I said, I mean, it was mostly just Excel and some yes no variables. So it wasn't technically difficult. It was just a way to get people to go look at our other stuff in a more fun way. Not, like I said, don't tell people, here's our program review data, go look at it for what you need. Nobody really wants to do that. So not overly difficult, but just trying to make it fun. Oh, and you know what? I'm so sorry. Let me share my screen again real quick. That's 3. I forgot my last slide. There you go.
Oh.
So yeah, well, because I can't see, I guess when I do this piece of it, I can't see the chat anymore. It's
yeah.
It's hidden. Oh, I see. It would be right there. There it is. I just wanted to make sure I could see the chat. So, I mean, I don't know if there were any other questions in there.
So one question just came in through the chat. Any plans for using this as part of faculty training on either data literacy in general or program review specifically? This would be a great entry point for that.
Yes. So I think what helped fizzle this out last year is the old program review process. We used to have a very, like, we'd been doing it for a while, and so it was always all the programs come in and we did like 1 to 2 trainings. And when we went to the new process as an office, we were kind of trying to think, how are we going to change our training up now that the data piece changed a little bit? And we just never got there last year. And thankfully, nobody complained that we didn't have a training. People just came to us and asked questions individually. So my hope is we are going to do trainings again this year. And yeah, I'm hopeful this dashboard would be a good entry point, like the person said, because we want to make it fun and not scary. That was one of the comments we got. And I'm sure everyone's done that with your dashboards. You get so excited putting everything on Tableau, and then someone else looks at it and they're afraid and they won't ever look at it again. So trying to make stuff not scary, I think, is a big goal for me, this last probably year and going forward.
Yeah, no, that's always a very tough challenge. Yeah, especially when you're dealing with such a wide audience with such a wide range of backgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Armando. That was an amazing dashboard. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
And any other questions, you can throw them into the chat. And then, so next up we have Ryan Feyk-Miney. Please tell me if I said that incorrectly. Okay, let me share this. And so Ryan has been the institutional research, I'm guessing, analyst at Clovis Community College for 2.5 years. Before that, he was an institutional research analyst at Cal State Northridge for 12 years and has been working with Tableau in various capacities since about 2015. His formal training is in the social sciences, coming from a psychology background. His passion lies in helping to make people realize how easy it is to work with and learn sushi, pizza, and tacos in that order. And so, yeah, thank you for joining us, Ryan. And he'll be showing his feeder school and local area statistics dashboard. And do you want to share your screen as well?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Armando, that is a tough act to follow, man. Like, that is impressive. But yeah, I came into Tableau in about 2015. My version was 9.3, so I was probably a year or so behind you. Okay, share screen. Okay, so this is so a small correction. I've been the director of IR at Clovis for the last 2.5 years, and part of, I think, my charge when I came in was to build some dashboards and sort of get us more of like an online data presence. We're in a 4-college district that has had some kind of dated, being a nice way of putting it, data architecture. So we're in the process of updating that. But when I first came in, so a lot of our dashboards are based on flat files that we update once a year or so. So just a preface that the dashboard I'm showing is a year out of date already, and we're kind of in the medium point between sort of using our old method and our new data architecture. So hoping to have that updated sometime in the fall, but I don't have the most recent year of data in there as I would have liked. So yeah, this dashboard came out of, so when I make a dashboard or have an idea for a dashboard, it always comes from it's a request I've gotten a lot of times. If I'm getting a lot of similar requests from people, I will try to build a dashboard that is sort of a report that people can access easily, so they don't have to have me as a bottleneck to getting them data that should be pretty easy for them to get. And then the other one is if I'm sort of interested in data from a college, what would I be looking for? And so this was one of those. So in 2015, when I was starting to learn Tableau, when we all did our Tableau training, you learn about the map functionality, and it's so cool, and everybody loves maps. And there just unfortunately aren't a ton of applications for it in the work we do. But this is one, talking about feeder schools, where our students are coming from, where I saw some real potential. So actually at Cal State Northridge, I tried to make one and failed. So I'm really glad that I was able to do one for Clovis. So I'll go through what it does. It's a pretty simple dashboard. I do have some enhancements that I'll go through sort of at the end that I'm planning to add for the future. But yeah, so basically you got your map of you know, Fresno County, Fresno Madera counties are kind of our main feeders, and you can actually zoom out and see, you know, all of California. This is a public dashboard, so values less than 5 are hidden. So, you know, the places that are real far away, you might not be able to see, you know, the places that are only sending like 2 students. But you can see as much of that as you want. And then of course we have our color intensity for where we're getting the most students, and these are our Clovis colors, you know, our green, our 2 blues, and our gray. So I don't think I put green onto this one, but I am using the demographics on hover. The cool thing about this is you can change it. And so if you're interested in seeing sort of like the ethnic, gender, first gen, economic, or age breakdown of the various zip codes, you can do that and kind of see where there are some differences in the students that are coming from those areas. We also have that functionality on our high school bars. So, you know, for people who are interested in seeing how many students came from a certain high school or how many students of a certain type came from a certain high school, you can do that. We also have filters where if you wanted to like see, you know, okay, let's see what the map looks like if we're only looking at economically disadvantaged students, right? Because you'll probably notice some differences. So like this was our darkest bar before, but as you can see, so this is kind of a more affluent region of Clovis where you don't see quite as much economic disadvantage. Whereas this is kind of a more, you know, urban area where there's a lot more dense population and a lot more SES factors that would contribute to that. So, so that's what we got going on there. So I want to give people functionality to be able to look at this in whatever way they're trying to look at. And we have, you know, the most recent year in there now, but we have every year, we're a newer institution, so we were accredited in 2015-16, so we have data going back through there, and we'll have the most recent year in there too. But you can just look at everything if you kind of wanted to see, and it's distinct student IDs, so people aren't counting more than once. But you can see sort of like, and it is interesting, yeah, because the high schools themselves, the order of the top 20 does change as you go through time. Buchanan is our top feeder school more recently, but it was Clovis High for a while, and so they're kind of neck and neck if you go every year. So it'll be interesting to see if adding the most recent year actually does push Buchanan up to be just the #1 school overall. We shall see. That may be something that only I am interested in seeing, but I will see it. Let's see, what else can I talk about here? Like I said, it's a pretty simple dashboard. So I will go into the plans for the future, because in sort of going to convenings with our high school partners, I kind of realized that they would love to see how students are doing after they come to Clovis. So like, you know, I thought of it as us looking at where our students are coming from, but since this is a public facing dashboard, it can just as easily be used by someone at a high school who wants to kind of look at or guide students to our college and say, hey, look, students from our high school have a, you know, 3.5 GPA, and you know, you know, we've given this many degrees to people from this high school, that kind of thing. So planning to bring in some success data to make this a little more informative rather than just how many students. And yeah, I mean, I can go through the, you know, the desktop version and just show, but I think oh, I forgot his first name, Mr. Lange did a great job of sort of showing how the tooltips on hover works and formatting your tooltip. Real big fan of how he did that. Yeah, we do the same thing in our tooltips, just kind of making sure, you know, there's custom highlighting, and I do have more sort of parameterized things shown in my tooltip, but that's because when you're doing the demographics on hover, what's in the tooltip has to sort of change according to that. Although now I see the sheet title isn't even in there, so not an issue. All right, cool. I never find more issues than when I'm actually like demoing this for somebody. But yeah, okay. So Sam, what did I miss? I know you sent me a list of questions to answer, and I probably answered 0 of them.
So I apologize if you did. At one point I was doing time management stuff, but what challenges did you face in building this dashboard?
This was the only challenges I'll say are just what I brought up in terms of the data architecture. So, having to sort of pull a custom data set, and as you know, from year to year, things will change and variable names will change, and so like as you sort of go from year to year on a static dashboard, you have tons of things just break because some weird thing happened or the data format in Excel changed, and and that throws everything off. But no, I mean this one is a pretty simple one to put together, so not too many challenges. Oh, how long did it take? Yeah, I'm so glad. I think it was Kim who said like that's a hard question to answer because I never do it in one sitting. Yeah, totally my case too. So it's really hard to say that cumulative time. Maybe this took 3-4 days, but the work on this stuff is usually weeks to a month and a half just of trying to find time. And that's been the case throughout my career, is not having enough time to build the stuff I want in Tableau. And I'm sure a lot of people have had that experience as well, because the work gets in the way of the fun.
Absolutely. Yep.
But
What
yeah,
is your favorite feature of the dashboard?
the map.
Yeah.
Just
I love your map. Yeah.
Maps are cool. That's one other enhancement. I actually want to talk to Mr. Lange about bringing in the custom icons because I want to put in like our 4 college sites, for example, on the map so you can see where those are. And if I'm really ambitious, the high schools themselves. But I'll start with the colleges and go from there. Depending on how challenging that is. I do know we only have coordinates. So Madera Community College is in our district, and it's the newest California community college. So we don't have geographic coordinates for them yet from Google. So I couldn't find those when I was trying to.
Oh. And then last question, how does the college use this data?
Yeah. So we do, since this is a public dashboard, it's hard to say sort of who's looking at it from the college and who's finding it from outside. But so I know people are looking at it. It has a little under 1,000 views right now. But we published it like a year and a half ago. So that's not bad for me in comparing to some of my other dashboards. but yeah, I would say most people look at this when I show it to them and say that's cool. But I'm hoping when we sort of add in some of that student success data that it can be part of the conversation for outreach, in terms of communicating with the high school, some more data about how students do once they come here.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. Yeah. But yeah, this is a great dashboard. Thank you so much. I especially love the Viz and tooltip part where you can change what shows when you're hovering over the map. I love that so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. And I don't think there were any questions in the chat.
I did such a great job of
missed any.
explaining that there were no questions.
I had one question. It was
Exactly.
mostly about data quality, because we suffer from a lot of issues around our zip codes and addresses, since it's like a free form text. Do you all have the same problems?
In terms of the zip codes themselves?
Yeah, it's zip codes, it's addresses, it's a lot of the, like, we have Oceanside spelled 50 different ways. So it's really hard to kind of clean up the data and get it into a usable format to do something like this.
I think that's why we went with the zip code and not city or or something like that. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to do like school districts and organize it that way, but that would be just really hard to kind of wrangle. And of course, the data quality of the high school provided, like we have a lot of students from California high school. Anybody here from California high school? go Californians. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's an issue. And of course, out of California high school, and sort of like, you know, we'd love to be able to drill down more into sort of like what that is, but yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I should elaborate. Like, we'll have a 6-digit or 5-digit zip code, but it won't match the city that they tell us it's in. So it'll be like Oceanside, and it'll be like 25432, and you're like, nope, that's not correct.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah. No, we haven't even gone into sort of like the accuracy of if they're entering their zip code correctly, because you're right. Like they may not know necessarily. They may be entering the zip code of their high school. They may be, you know, entering an old zip code if they've moved around. So you're right. Yeah, that would be hard. And plus they move around after they come here too. So
that's yeah.
Some
students use like their parents' address, but they live somewhere else.
Yep. So not perfect data.
Addresses are fun.
Oh yeah.
One of our analysts went and cleaned up a bunch of, like, he verified. I think Gabriel's here actually. I don't know if he wants to. I don't know what link he used for that, but he took a bunch of our addresses and verified them and gave us clean, accurate postal addresses. So that's something to do, but he can only do so many before he had to pay. So yeah.
That was
but yeah.
using. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Gabriel.
That was using the Google API, so it connected addresses with Google Maps, and it cleaned it.
We tried to do that at Cal State Northridge, and it didn't at least didn't fully work for us, and I don't remember why at this point. But yeah, I'm reading Oksana's comment. Hi, Oksana, good to see you. About Smarties. So I have a toddler. So as far as I know, Smarty is Elmo's friend, the smartphone. Hadn't heard of the one that actually helps with data. The Smarty I know makes a lot of puns.
I have a toddler too, and I don't know Smarty, but
oh, you don't watch enough Elmo apparently.
Yeah. No, but I'm definitely gonna check this Smarty out. Thank you, Oksana. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna steal your screen.
Yeah, this might be better than what we did, Gabriel. But yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me. It was great.
Yeah, thank you to all three of our presenters. I think, at least I'll speak for myself, but I know when we started this TUG, at least my vision was to have things like this where we were seeing behind the scenes of what other colleges were doing. That was kind of like our big idea, was like, yeah, we're all working behind firewalls where you can't see stuff. So we would love to have more presenters from the CCC. I'm just going to plug that right here. So please let us know if you want to present and show off the work you're doing. Okay, so we're going to turn to a little bit of fun, and we're going to look at the vizzes we got for our birth data challenge. So we had posed a challenge to all of you to create a viz using an old Makeover Monday data set, which showed US births between 1994 and 2014, and asked you to visualize how common the CCC TUG's birthday is, which is August 30th. And like Sam mentioned at the top, we got 2 vizzes. So lesson learned, we will not do this again, but we are very appreciative of the 2 who did submit. We were originally going to have everyone who submitted be entered into a drawing for a Tableau gift card, but with 2 people, we're just going to give you both a Tableau gift card. And thank you so much for participating. We're going to show those vizzes, and I'll ask the authors. I know I saw Vinny in the chat, so I think she's here, but I know Golnoosh is not. I'll ask you if you want to come off mute or put anything in the chat to say something about your viz, you're more than welcome to. No pressure if you don't want to either. We're just going to say a few quick things about them and then talk a little bit about the data. So first, we have Vinny Wu from San Bernardino Valley College, and she has this great dashboard where she has a parameter up here in the top left. So you can select your month and day for your birth. So she's got August 30 selected. And then she's got this great use of bands over here. Bands are big as numbers. So you're seeing kind of like the big takeaways for August 30th. You can see we're ranked 35th out of 366 days. That includes leap day. the average births that happen on that day each year, and then the total that have happened in that 20-year time frame. And then she's got this nice heat map below where you can see some pretty cool trends where summer births are pretty popular, summer and September. You can see some pretty clear outliers like Thanksgiving, Christmas, July 4th, the New Year. Not so common to have birthdays around those times. So Vinny, I don't know if you want to say anything. I will give you a few seconds. And if not, I will keep plugging along.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the first dashboards I've ever built, actually. So thankful for this challenge to let me try Tableau out a little bit. And I agree, it's a great color palette. This is actually our school color, so that's what I went with. I mean, I think the most challenging part was figuring out the color range, just because I did have to figure out the outliers. Otherwise, it would have just been like a dark blue, like everything would have been the same color. But yeah, this was fun. Thanks.
Well, this is a great
everyone for
first
this.
dashboard. This is really great. I love the color palette. I love that like dark purpley blue. And yeah, I found color challenging too. I'll talk about that, I think, when Kim and I show our vizzes. But yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much for participating. We also have a viz from Golnoosh Baruzian. She's from Maricosta College, and she's got a nice bar chart up here at the top showing how many births are happening each month in that 20 years. And then she has a heat map too, but it's slightly different. She's looking at a different variable. She's looking at day of the week and for each year. And that's why I think I really love these challenges. I love seeing everyone's kind of unique perspectives and how they interpret and analyze and visualize different stories. So I like that. But you can very clearly see weekends not so popular to have a baby. And this paired with the trends we saw on Vinny's dashboard fostered discussion for us at Maricosta all around planned births, because we were reading that a lot of these trends have to do with people in hospitals planning things like C-sections on weekdays and not on holidays. And we really want to get our hands on data before planned births were as common as they are, to see kind of what the true trends would be and see how that would kind of shake out. But I know Golnoosh is not here, so I will not ask her to come off mute. And again, thank you to both Golnoosh and Vinny. You are both the new owners of a Tableau gift card, so thank you. And then Kim, Sam, and I all put together a viz too, mostly because we were terrified people weren't going to submit anything. So we'll go through ours super quick. But again, you'll see similar to what we've seen before. Kim did a lovely heat map in the same purplish blue that Vinny used, and used a parameter to select your birthday. And we can see the similar trends. Like I mentioned, I was going to talk about color. So Kim used rank on color. I think that was a helpful way to kind of avoid what Vinny was talking about, which was just total color saturation. So that was a cool technique. And then next up is Sam's viz. She has some fun little icons showing, highlighting some big trends in the data. She also has another kind of heat map down here at the bottom. Again, you can see those weekdays or weekends are not very common. And then I was playing with this viz before our meeting and just looking at all the fun facts she incorporated and having like major flashbacks to the 90s and 2000s. So definitely go through and check out her viz. We'll put all the links, either maybe Sam or Kim can put the links in the chat so you all can look at them too. And then I also made a heat map of sorts. It's a radial heat map, which is only possible because Lindsay Betzendahl had a template for a radial heat map. If that name is ringing a bell, it's because she was a presenter at our third meeting ever. She presented all about design, but she had this cool template for a radial heat map, which allowed me to swap out the data and use that for that. Okay, so while we were playing with this data and doing this challenge, two things were kind of coming up for us that we wanted to talk about around this challenge. And at the end, we'll invite you to participate as well and maybe give us some feedback about challenges or issues or tips and tricks that you found when working with this data. But there are two things we wanted to talk about. One is dates. They're a huge pain point for me in Tableau. I think maybe because I don't use them very often at Maricosta and like my day-to-day, we tend to use terms rather than date values. So I just always kind of have a panic attack when I have to use them. And then we're going to talk about heat maps. You saw a heat map in every single one of those visits that we just showed you. So we wanted to kind of talk about why they were so prevalent and then some tips for making the best heat map possible. So when it came to dates, I want to jump in and look at the data that we provided from that Makeover Monday challenge. And even though this whole thing was about dates, you might notice there's not actually a date field in this data. So column A is year, it's stored as an integer. Month is stored as an integer. Same thing with the day of the month, day of the week, birth. So when you bring this into Tableau, Tableau doesn't know these are dates, which worked really well for making heat maps because you already had the date parts kind of pulled out. But I found it challenging when I just like jumped into this data and started analyzing it and playing with it. And I was like, why is there not a date field? So I wanted to talk about the function makeDate, which is one that I didn't know about for a really long time. And it does exactly what it says it does. It makes a date. It makes a date from the year, month, and day that you specify. So super simple syntax. It's just makeDate and then a parenthesis, year, comma, month, comma, day. And that will spit out a date field based on those. So here in this left-hand column is the date I created using makeDate. And I just put the year, month, and date next to it. And the benefit here is now you have a field that actually acts like a date, right? Year, month, and date are all integers in that data. And so Tableau is not going to see them as those date parts. For instance, if you bring that singular month onto your view, it's going to see it as a number and it's going to format it as a number. And there's no real way to make this show as like a written out month, right? Unless you hard code a calculated field where 1 equals January, 2 equals February, etc. But since we made a date, you can actually use that month field from the date field. And then Tableau will say, oh, you're showing me a date. And then it will format it like an actual written month. So that's how I found it helpful. You also have the option to format it different ways as well. So it'll default to the full name, but you can do the 3-month abbreviation now that you have a date field. You could just use the first letter. You could even use a number again and throw leading zeros on it. So really helpful and easy way to create a date in Tableau from the fields. And like I said, dates are a pain point for me. I really don't like using them. So I found 3 resources that I have found helpful when using dates. The first is from Andy Kriebel. He's got a YouTube video with 5 very common date calculations you may want to use and familiarize yourself with when you're using dates. And he also has a little cheat sheet linked in this video. So it shows kind of the different outputs you get from the different calculated fields. The second one is by Luke Sankey. This is actually a Tableau public dashboard where you can just steal date calculations based on whatever scenario you want. So he's got this whole list of different types of things you might want to do with a date, and you click it, and then you can literally just copy and paste the calculated field. So it's a real cheat sheet. So it's fantastic. And then the Flair-Lage twins have a more like of a deep dive into dates. So like very specific scenarios that you may want to do with dates. And they, again, write out all the calculations for you and you can steal them. So that's kind of how I've dealt with dates, is I just steal other people's calculations because I'm not a huge fan of them, which brings us to, we want to ask you, do you also have challenges with dates? Is it just us? Or do you have any tricks that you use when you're using dates? You can either put it in the chat, you can come off mute, or if you don't want to say anything at all, you don't have to say anything. I don't know if Kim and Sam have anything. Yeah, Vinny agrees. Dates are a pain. They're really not fun, especially when you have to deal with the time element on a date. That is my worst nightmare.
Yeah, Tableau loves to default to date and time, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
And,
it's annoying.
Yeah.
Dates, yeah, dates are Kim's kryptonite too. We hate dates. That's why we gave you a challenge all about dates. But I do wonder if it's because we typically use terms as our time frames, so I don't get a ton of practice with dates. I don't know if others feel that way too.
Yeah, and every like Tableau user group meeting I'm in, other than this one, whenever they're like, it's all about dates. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, if you all think of any tips or challenges that you want to talk about, please throw them in the chat. We're always we always welcome learning, especially about dates. If you have anything you want to share with the group. Okay, so the other thing we wanted to talk about around this challenge was why so many heat maps. So literally every single visit we showed you had a heat map of some sort. And like I said before, this was a Makeover Monday challenge. So this isn't just the CCCs. If you go onto Tableau Public, there's tons of data about birthday popularity, and they're all using heat maps. So not all, but most of them use some kind of heat map. So we wanted to just kind of talk about them. And first and foremost, why do they work so well with this data? And I think the main reason is because we have a really big data set, and it's a great way to show really quickly when you have patterns or trends. And then like those outliers were super obvious, right? It was really obvious, like, hey, babies aren't born on Christmas. They're not born around Thanksgiving. So if you want to show a really like a very obvious pattern like that, I think a heat map is a really good way to do it, because we're good at seeing those differences in color saturation, right? If you see a super dark color, you know that means there's more of it. And so our brains are just kind of wired to see patterns that way. And then in terms of when you use color on a heat map, there are two different types of color palettes that you would want to use. One would be a sequential, which means you have basically one color gradient, right? It's a gradient from your color to like gray or white. And you would use this if you just have positive or you just have negative values, which we did in this data, right? It was all positive values. But if you also had negative values, you'd want to use a diverging color palette. So there's both a color for negative and a color for positive, and they kind of meet in the middle at 0. So if you have both positive and negative, you'll want to help your viewers or your users understand what each color is. And then there is kind of one little drawback to a heat map, is that it doesn't have a ton of granularity. You can't really look at a color and say, oh, that represents 650, right? Your brain doesn't know that the color means the exact number. You can kind of get around that with labels or tooltips, but if you need to show really specific values, heat maps might not be the best chart type. And we wanted to leave you with one other resource, which is this website from Back to Viz Basics. Back to Viz Basics is another community challenge like Makeover Monday, where every other week they post a challenge where they ask you to focus on one thing. So it might be like, build your best heat map using this data, or build your best bar chart, or focus on annotations, and then really focus on doing that well. And they actually just launched this website where they are now posting tips for whatever technique that they focus on that week. So they had one just recently about building a heat map. And then I just pulled some screenshots from some of their tips about, adding a border to help with readability, and add labels, right? Because like we just talked about, there isn't a lot of specificity in a heat map. So adding labels can help with that. Showing your color legend is helpful so your users know what they're looking at. And they've done this for tons of chart types. So definitely go on that website and take a look. It's a place to get super quick tips about a lot of different charts. And just Monday, they launched their most recent challenge, which is all about building Sankeys via Viz extensions. We did not plan this, but that's exactly what Kim is going to be demonstrating now, is how to build a Sankey chart with the new Viz extensions feature in Tableau. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim to close us out.
Fantastic. Forgive me. I'm going to leave my camera off for right now because my internet is acting a little wonky and I've been thrown out of the room twice and I really don't want to do that. So let me go to share my screen. And if you've been on Tableau Public for any measurable period of time, you know that there are some really mind-bending charts out there. Depending on your skill level and the difficulty of the chart, you may not have the luxury of going in and telling your boss, hey, I found something really cool, but I need to take a month and learn calculus again, and then it'll be awesome. That's not reality for most of us. I was presented with this challenge to build a Sankey chart to display our guided pathways data. And I never took calculus in school. So it took a very long time. And without the Flair-Lage's templates to kind of work off of and customize, this would never have happened. But when we're building these charts, each of these bars and curves are different vises. So when we would go into them, we would have to create dozens of calculations in order to get this to work. Once we did that, then we had table calcs, 8 of them for each set of curves. And each of those table calcs needed to be organized and set up in a very specific order. And if one checkbox in any of the 8 in any of the charts was off, everything broke. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into this. I am very happy to say that Tableau has gone a long way to take a lot of the pain out of this process. So let me open up a blank workbook. This is the same data set that built that previous set of Sankeys, and you will note that there's no scroll bar here on the left-hand side. There's no calculated fields that I've added. This is just the raw data as it is. If I go to my marks card here and go down to add extension, and this works in Tableau 2024.2, and that's both Tableau Desktop as well as Tableau Public. So if you download the latest version of Tableau Public, this is available to you. And a dialog window will open, and all kinds of different chart types are available for your use to add in. Now, there are a number of different sources for these charts. Some of them are built by Tableau, some of them are built by LaDataViz and some of the other companies that we know really well. Other outside vendors may also be in here as well. So you have to be a little bit careful when you're going through these, just to make sure that it's somebody you trust and that it's doing what you expect it to do. They come in 2 different formats in terms of sandbox versions, where they're just dealing with the data that's in your viz, and networked versions that can access more data on your network. So you have to be a little careful about that as well. When you click on any of these, it will give you the developer website and a lot of the technical specs that you can review and see if it's something that you want to bring into your institution. But if I click the open, this happens to be a free one. And I say, okay, I'm going to go with term 1 status, and I grab that and I put it on level. And now I have a display of my full-timers and my part-timers. If I want to see what happens to them in term 2, I throw that on level, and all of a sudden I have a Sankey chart. That took 3 seconds, not 3 months, and lots of blood, sweat, and tears. If I take size and throw that onto link, that's going to give me the volume of students traveling from one level to another. If I want to say, okay, let's look at them over the course of 3 terms. Now we have 3 different semesters, and we can keep going and going and going as long as we need to. And this will allow you to create these Sankey charts very quickly, painlessly, and be able to present some really cool stuff in ways that historically the community colleges really haven't. Now, the one thing that I'm hoping will improve with time is the issue of customizability, and that's the real challenge. There's a button here that says Format Extension, and with this button, you can do things like adjust the level of padding between the different groups, so it makes it a little bit easier to discern the different groupings. You can move the bars away from the curves as needed. And you can change the color. The challenge here is that you cannot specify the color based on the different values. You only get a color scheme to apply. So if I were to say blue teal, that changes things, and that's a nice view. But I want to be able to say, okay, let's follow them from full-time to full-time, or didn't enroll or stopped out, what have you. So that's one limitation that I hope is improved in the long run. The other thing that we really hope to see is the ability to specify tooltips. You can create custom tooltips in here, but they're not specific to the different boxes and on the bar charts. And so when I want to create some customized text to explain to my users what's going on in my viz, that would be enormously helpful to do too. But this is miles and away ahead of where we have been in terms of being able to build things. You can go in and add multiple extensions when you, oops, not format, When you add extensions, there are a number of free options. And if you check this checkbox, it will filter down to the free ones. Bear in mind that a lot of them are free in their very basic format. If you want to do anything more complex, add additional levels and customizations, then that you may be charged for. So I see this as a real opportunity for growth and something that we really want to do long term. And I realize that we are really short on time, but I'm so glad that we had the other conversations. And this is just in the beginning stages of our conversations about these extensions. And I'm really excited to see what you guys can do with them in the future. Let me stop that share. Let's go here. Do we have any questions? More play to play? Yes, no custom color palettes. That is also a limitation that we struggle with as well. Lisa or Sam, could you please share your screens for the PowerPoint? Thank you.
So next meeting, I wasn't sure, do you want to
Tableau server is going to be
so next meeting is our October meeting. So we're going with a spooky, scary theme. And we have everyone's favorite Tableau twins, Ken and Kevin Flurlage. This is an actual photo that they sent us. So I don't know where they were hanging out, I guess at the Shining Hotel, but they will be joining us. We really hope that you will join us. They are going to be showing us some wickedly cool stuff to do in Tableau. So we really hope you'll join us. Let me, can one of you put the link in the chat so folks can RSVP? And then we also have a survey for you. So we have been doing this a year now, and we want to get your feedback on what is working, what's not working, what we're doing well, what you hate about us. You can tell us all in this survey link that we're going to throw into the chat, hopefully. And with that is everything. We'll also send all these links out via email to everyone, so you'll all have them in your inbox. But again, we would love to have you present at one of our meetings. We'd love to see what you're doing at your college. So we have this form on all of our event pages. You can use the QR code, or we'll throw the link in the chat, but we would love to hear from you. We'd love to see what you're doing. And I think that is everything. So yeah, if there's any questions or anyone wants to stick around and chat, Sam, Kim, and I will hang out. If not, thank you so much for joining us.